thing. So let's do this. Our one and only guest, unfortunately, Matt Robinson, will have to reschedule, but we gotta. My co-host loves this guy because he's a fullback. So let's give him a call. He played for the Bears, Jaguars, Patriots, Browns, and 49ers. Former Super Bowl
champion Mark Edwards. He won the Super Bowl with the New England Patriots. And again, he's fullback, and I love fullbacks.
Yep, he's a sucker for his fullbacks.
Yeah.
So, alrighty, let's give him a call, shall we?
Hello, this is Mark.
Hey, Mark, welcome to now the Tampa Bay Sports Bandits. How do you like the new name?
Hey, I'm digging it. It works for me. You know, there's a lot going on in Tampa Bay right now.
On the phone, played for the NFL for 9 seasons, Super Bowl champion, as well as a Notre Dame.
That stuff in the NFL. So hopefully all the stuff's going to get back to normal, and we're going to get our football season as everybody wants.
Yeah, hopefully so. You know, everything's gets back to normal. Some exciting things. You know, it seems like it's progressing that way. So we can only hope the fall becomes as normal as possible. So, first question I have for you. You know, playing for Notre Dame, obviously, possibly the biggest fan base across the country. What was it like playing for them? And being an Ohio guy, why did you choose Notre Dame over other schools?
You know, this is a pretty funny story, right? So I'm a sophomore in high school, and I'm starting to have a lot of success. I started both ways as a freshman in high school, right? Off as running back and as a linebacker. And, you know, by the end of my sophomore year, I was probably going to be a Division I player. I didn't know if it was going to be like a Notre Dame, Ohio State type Division I player, or if it was going to be like a MAC conference type Division I player. But I knew I'd be playing football in college, you know, barring any injury. So, interesting enough, my sophomore year, Notre Dame was on the midst of a 23 or 24 game win streak. They won the national title in '88, so this is 80, 89, 90, right? So in '89, that's my freshman year. Beat Florida or Miami to beat the University of Notre Dame. I was so sick of hearing how good Notre Dame was, how you know, they were kind of like the Yankees at that time. They had just been on such a good win streak. You just wanted to see them get beat. So, you know, fast forward, here's what I was getting. I was jumping ahead here, but getting into my sophomore and junior year, so Notre Dame, I knew I was going to play every game on national TV, which was unique back in the early '90s, right? Notre Dame had their own, you know, broadcasting network, you know, NBC. I knew I was going to graduate. I knew I was going to be competing for the national title every single year. I knew that I was going to be going into an amazing alumni base. You know, and then on top of that, Lou Holtz's offense really featured the fullback. So it was kind of a no-brainer at that point going to the University of Notre Dame. And once I got there, it met every expectation that I ever could have dreamed of, and I had the best darn time, best 4 years ever imagined. I wouldn't change a darn thing.
Why? So as you were getting recruited, I mean, obviously fullbacks. So little FYI, I'm a big fullback fan. I think it's a position that should live on.
Make fullbacks great again.
Yes, I was thinking of fullback lives matter or something, just, you know, joking like that. Were you? I mean, you said you were a running back in high school.
Right.
So did you not think that? Did you think running fullback was the only way to get to D1?
No. I mean, really, I knew if you go back into the lineage of whole fullbacks, I mean, you're talking, you know, Rodney Culver, like Tony Brooks and Anthony Johnson, Jerome Bettis, Ray Zellers, and myself. We had 6, 7 guys in a row that were really tailbacks, running backs in college that played fullback at the University of Notre Dame because at the University of Notre Dame, they almost used us like a West Coast offense type of fullback, where we ran the ball, we caught passes out the backfield, and then we did our fair share of blocks as well. So, I mean, I knew that, I was going to be playing fullback in college somewhere if I wanted to go, more big time to a big time program. But, that's really what I wanted anyway. So
Gotcha.
it really worked out well for me.
Gotcha. Okay, so now, so actually, before we end the college topic here, obviously that USC.
Well, it was kind of a unique situation because USC, we had beaten USC like 10 straight years, then we tied them my sophomore year. But, I mean, we had absolutely dominated that series, right? And they just hired John Robinson. It was Keyshawn Johnson's senior year.
Wow.
They were, I want to say 7-0 or 5-0 or 7-0 and number 5 in the country, and we were 5-2 and like number 17. We had a couple stumbles, and this was finally the year they were going to beat us in '95, right? John Robinson came back. I mean, it was a deal. They were on their way to an undefeated national defense. Calls turnovers that we got a safety. I ran for like 80 yards. I had 3 pounds. I threw for a 2-point pick in the NFL draft, a year or two later. And, our guys were just blowing him all off the ball. We ran the ball right down their throat. We just physically decimated them. A major part of at Notre Dame. And, it was just a great.
You won a Super Bowl. So what was that experience like?
Way to steal my question, champ.
I saw. Sorry, hey, we're talking to a fullback. I'm asking the questions right now.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. You know what? Everybody always says, "Hey, you know what, Mark? You worked your tail off. You earned that Super Bowl ring." And to a certain degree, yeah, I agree with them. But at the same time, everybody that makes the NFL works their tails off. Everybody's a great athlete, has a great work ethic. At the end of the day, you got to be a little bit lucky. You got to be in the right place at the right time. And then I get traded to the Browns. I was 3-13 or 2-14, 3-13, and then I'm a free agent. I go to the Patriots. The Patriots are 5-11 the year before. Bill Belichick had not had a tremendous amount of success, so I go there because it was my best opportunity. Right? They wanted me the most. All right, well, hey, I got to go where I'm wanted. So they brought a lot of guys in that year, the Mike Vrabels, Mike Comptons, guys like that. Roman Pfeiffer came in that season. A lot of good, solid veterans came in. And Drew Bledsoe had just signed a $100 million deal. He was the first quarterback to ever sign a $100 million deal, so he was a franchise guy. Mm-hmm. And then we had this kid named Tom Brady, who was a fourth season. And we lose our first game against the Bengals. And this is the 1990s Bengals. This is 2001 season, right? So this is basically the 1990 Bengals, who went 2-14 every year. So I had Mo Lewis with one of the most violent hits I'd ever seen. Clean hit, but one of the most violent hits I'd ever seen in my playing career. And all of a sudden, some no-name Brady kid comes in, right? We win the next game. We lose the next game. We're sitting there at 1-3 with a backup quarterback. We just lost a $100 million franchise quarterback. And I'm thinking, and once again, I'm like, man, we're going to be lucky to win a game this year. So then we get back, we win a game. Then we're 3-3. Then we're 5-5. And then all of a sudden, man, we get hot. We start winning games weird, 17-16. 24-21. We're just finding, we're scoring on defense. We're scoring on special teams. It doesn't matter. We're just finding ways to win as a team. And next thing you know, man, we're 5-5. We go to, and it was just a magical season that we made magic happen, man. It was just a really magical run, and I was very, very fortunate to be part of that.
So, my question to you, though, is it true what they say about...
Is exact. He is absolutely exactly what he portrays himself to be. It's no nonsense. He works hard. Maybe not the most talented guys, but the guys are going to fit into that particular system. They're whatever, he's had his system forever, but he brings, selfless guys in that are going to do what they're coached to do. Instead of, like a Mark Gastineau type guy, running around the edge trying to get a sack every single time, but yet being susceptible to screens and draws, he gets guys that are going to play sound, fundamental defense and sacrifice personal accolades. And if
you could respect that, right? Even if you're not a Patriots fan. But so a question I have, it kind of the game has evolved, obviously, and I'm going to go back to fullbacks here. Do you see the game evolving where fullbacks kind of play more of a role? You kind of see that with some teams lately. Do you see a resurgence?
It's coming back, and it's coming back.
Yes,
just a little bit. You see the hats and the T-shirts. It's almost like a grassroots movement.
Yes,
make fullbacks great again.
Yes.
You got the guy from Detroit. You got Uzak from San Fran scoring touchdowns in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Everything is cyclical to a certain degree, right? I mean, we're never going to get back to the ground and pound, 70s and 80s type of game, right? There's always going to be throwing the ball, that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, your linebackers are 215, 220. Your defensive linemen these guys are stopping this wide open offense now because they're matching athletes with athletes, right?
Yeah.
So play like San Fran all of a sudden says, hey, guess what? I'm going to get some big old mule offensive linemen in here. I'm going to get a fullback. I'm going to get a big tight end, and we're going to run the ball down your throat because your 215-pound linebackers is not going to be able to take on my 240-pound fullback, right?
Right.
So that's what we're starting to see a little bit now. It's coming back a tiny bit. Once again, there's always going to be more innovation now than there's ever been. But, fullback, for a long time was a dying breed. He's practiced.
So love it. I got to ask you, I see you played for the Browns, and God bless you around that time. Tell us about your tenure there. Why were you guys so bad? Did they just not want to help you guys get players? What was so bad about that time when you guys...
Well, it was an expansion franchise at the time, right? To me, I came from San Francisco where there was a winning culture, right? I was right at the end of freshman. My rookie year, we went 13-3, number one seed in the division. My second year in the league, we went 12-4, made the playoffs. So there was a winning culture there, and everybody knew about that, right? So we go to Cleveland, and Dwight Clark and Colin Policy, who drafted me in San Fran, they traded for me. So to go to Cleveland, and I'm thinking, hey, we're going to install the same kind of this thought process, this culture, and this is a different coaching style with Chris Palmer coming from the Tom Coughlin, Bill Parcells tree. Steve Mariucci was, in my opinion, a great coach because he wasn't talking about what Mike Holmgren was doing for him or George Seifert, like the coaching he came off of. He wasn't talking about those guys. Based upon that and the fact we were an expansion team without a lot of great players, those 2 years in Cleveland were pretty rough. And you know what? The fans in Cleveland are absolutely amazing. They loved us. They were just happy that they had a team back.
Right.
Because they lost their team, obviously, the Ravens, right?
Right.
It's great. I still have friends in Cleveland, but obviously the organization has never been run properly for a significant amount of time, and it really sure thing when they both won the AFC Championship game their second year.
That's right.
So,
Jags did, yeah. I guess before we let you go, we always like to ask our host or our guests, what's your prediction for the Super Bowl? I know that it's still months away. Do you see any favorites out of each conference coming out of that and playing in Tampa?
Oh my gosh! With all the chaos going on right now, it makes it really, really tough to get an accurate prediction. It's hard in the AFC to go against the Chiefs for what they got coming back. They got a great running back in the draft, the first round pick. Tom Brady and the Patriots. Tom Brady's gone for the Patriots right now, who are their biggest rival. I don't know anybody else who can really challenge them in the AFC. But just when you think you got things figured out, you never really know. NFC, you got Brady and Gronk and all these other great players joining the Bucs that already had so much talent, right? They just didn't have a good leadership, right? So it may take some time to put together. I still like what the Saints have. I still like what the 49ers have. The 49ers are built for long term with the way they run the ball and they play physical. You almost got to say the Chiefs and 49ers again, or the Chiefs and the Saints. But history has shown us every year somebody from nowhere pops up and play well. And because we haven't had all the off-season coverage, seeing what teams are doing and things like that, it makes it a little more difficult. But, if I had to, go with something right now, I would say Chiefs and the New Orleans Saints, with probably the Chiefs going again.
Can't argue that.
Yeah, that's a good possibility because who knows what the
that's a fantasy land.
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember who the Chargers quarterback is now.
Tyrod Taylor.
Oh yeah. They're Super Bowl bound, absolutely. Good luck with that.
I love it.
The Bucs do have a lot of optimism. They are the media darlings right now. Like I said, they've won the offseason with their acquisitions, their big-name acquisitions, but can, 43 or 44-year-old Tom Brady, 2 years he had Randy Moss, right?
Right.
Mike Evans and, who's the other
Chris
guy?
Godwin.
Chris Godwin.
Oh, my God. Those guys, they're returning 1,000 yards receivers, right?
Right.
You throw in Gronk there, and don't they have like 8 other tight ends?
Something like that. Yeah, they got a lot of tight ends.
Exactly. They had decent tight ends last year. And now you throw Gronk in that mix, man. They have a tremendous amount of talent, and from what I'm hearing, their defense is going to be pretty solid too, or at least on paper. But once again, just because you win the offseason doesn't mean all those pieces of the puzzle fit together like everybody thinks they will. So that's always the biggest thing. Granted, you got a tremendous leader bringing a tremendous culture into that locker room, but you just never know. I would love to see him go out there and play well, but at the same time, they're in a very tough division with New Orleans. So.
Definitely. Not to mention Carolina and the Falcons. I know it's still divisional games. Those divisional games are always the hardest. I'm sure you know about it in your time playing. Those division games are always tough.
Oh, please believe it. Absolutely. It's one of those things where you know each other because you see each other 2 times a year. Home and away every single year. You know what they do. You know what they do. You know what they do. There's always wrinkles, but you know the personnel. You're more familiar with them. And not only that, but there's always a bigger sense of division game. It's like a rivalry game to a certain degree. So you do take it a little more serious, and it is a little bit more meaningful.
Right. Well, look, Mark. We don't want to steal any more of your time. We appreciate you joining us for a few minutes talking some football. Look, we can talk all day about talking football, but thanks for joining us. And look, when the season starts up again, if you got a few more minutes of your time, we'd love to have you back on the show.
Hey, let's keep in touch, man, and hopefully we get football on time, get a full football season with fans, guys knocking heads.
Yes.
Everybody wants college football. Everybody's dying for sports right now. It needs to happen. Irish.
Yep, and we'll be in touch for sure. Definitely.
All right, take it easy, man.
Take it easy.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, bye.
Boy, weren't you the hog? Man, I mean, I get your fullback guy, man. I understand that, but
Sorry.
dang, can't the guy get in a few questions? Okay, I did.
Leave me
okay,
talk to my fullbacks.
I did give him my 2, but
Let me talk to my fullbacks. That was awesome.
I did. I just let you have it for. That's why I wanted to surprise you because I knew about the fullback. So.
Yes, big time, big fullback guy. Should have a shirt, big fullback guy.
But I know you're going to be upset with me right now. But this guy has been wanting on the show for a while. Okay.
Okay.
You are going to read up on him than what he knows, but he wanted to be on. So look him up. His name is Greg Bingham, former linebacker of the Houston Oilers.
Oh, nice.
So he went to Purdue. He was round 4 pick. Round 4.
Hello.
Hey, Greg. Welcome to now the Tampa Bay Sports Bandits show. How are you tonight on short notice? I know you've been wanting to come on because we've talked about it. So I'm sorry on short notice, but we're glad to have you on.
Well, I appreciate it. Good to be here.
Hey, Greg, thanks for joining us for a few minutes. What did you learn there, kind of transitioning into the NFL, playing at a Big Ten school?
Well, to make a long story short, when I was recruited by Purdue, I got in there because I was trying to go into West Point, and they just figured that they had a pretty good athlete with a brand they didn't have to worry about. So that being said, I ended up going to Purdue. Purdue at the time was number 1 in the country, and that gave them top choice of all the players around the country, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
And so when I got there, it was like they gave out a total of 40 scholarships, and they worked their butts off to get 39 of them. And they got the number 1 kids from all around the country say, well, we're pretty tired here. You want this last one? And so I went to Purdue, and of all those guys, because they were number 1 in the country, if you remember back in those days, I ended up being the first one starting out of my class.
Wow.
So started from the very first day. And to make a long story short, the next step that happened is played against an All-American center from TCU named John Rooster Rustrom. And he was a great football player, and I did pretty well against him. And then the second game, I played against Notre Dame and Larry DiNardo, and did pretty well against him. And then the third game was against Jim Plunkett, and I was happening to run down this guy who caught this pass, and somebody hit one of our players, and he fell into my leg and snapped my leg. And my toes were touching my knees. And I stayed with the doctor that night because we're in Stanford at the time, and Bill Combs said to me, he says, well, Greg, I don't throw curveballs. I got to tell you how it really is. And that is, you're never going to play again. So just keep that in mind and be prepared. Well, he was right 16 years later.
But the injury, and I didn't realize Purdue was number 1 back then. So sorry of my ignorance there.
Well, you've got to realize that history is everything. So you got to, you want to have as much history as you possibly can. So all the listeners should be listening.
and that is that you want to know everything there is about history so you don't repeat the dumb things. That's really the key. And that's the key to life, isn't it?
Right. No, it definitely is. So now, kind of want to take you to your.
One of the things that I'm pretty proud of, I spent 20 years in football and no operations. That puts me in the Guinness Book of Records now, doesn't it?
I would think so. Geez.
It does, because a lot of players that we have, that we've currently had on, they've had a lot of knee injuries. So yeah, you're one of the lucky ones.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I don't take it as luck. I take it as skill.
Well, there you go.
Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. As a linebacker, I'm in control of everything. As an offensive lineman, you're not.
True.
So the guy next to you falls down on your leg and tears up your knee. So, but I'm 100% in control. I put my body where it needs to be when it needs to be there. And that's really what I attribute it to.
Oh, wow.
So,
you know who Lonzo Hype is?
So I saw that we just currently had the draft. I see that you were round 4. Take us through that night that you ended up being picked in the 4th round. Did you expect to go earlier, or did you expect to go there, or when did you expect to be drafted?
Well, let me put a few things out to you so you can understand. The draft and the pomp and circumstance around it has just grown year after year, decade after decade. So they didn't have it this time I was getting drafted.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even call you. You just found out by reading the newspaper.
Oh, wow.
If you know what I mean. Yeah. So they've really put the show on the road, if you know what I mean.
That's crazy. I would have never thought that.
Yeah, that's the way it used to be. And I got to tell you, I played the Super Bowl golf for 25 years there, and I've got to see it all. And it shows up in the checkbook because the size it is now, and that's why the valuation is going up for your franchises.
Mm-hmm.
So John Meekum sold his Saints in 1985 or something like that.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how old you guys are, but these cell phones give the population more information that was available to the richest person in the world 20 years ago. So it's a tremendous power source.
Yeah.
And if you know how to utilize it, it can be tremendous. It's just outstanding. So, philosophically, it's a great life to live, and I've had a great time, and I'm not done yet.
Huh. So, do you still follow the game? And if so, what would you say the biggest differences in the game is now than when you played?
Well, the biggest difference today is the rules have been changed so they can contain the amount of injuries that happen. And they're really safety rules. We old school guys screw around and say, boy, I tell you what, we're life-changing or altering injuries.
Yeah, I mean, in your era, as you say, it was hard-nosed compared to now, where it's pretty much just baby down. I mean, especially the quarterback position, you can't even really hit them. It's like, I know you weren't a quarterback, but
you went after quarterbacks.
You went after quarterbacks, and I know they were tougher than what they are now because they took a lot of hits. So, I mean,
well, I got now. Let me tell you something you didn't know, and most people don't know. But I'm in the Guinness Book of Records for multiple things, and one of them is I took 8 snaps as a quarterback in the NFL and made a first down every time. It's just the way it is.
So when you were playing with the Oilers, how many quarterbacks did you come across that were your favorite that you went up against?
Well, to be quite frank with you, I started the very first game and that was against John in the Jet. And he's a damn good player. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
But I played against a lot of them. And Peyton Manning, you know who Peyton Manning is?
Yep. We all do.
I was
yep.
the very first guy to sack. I was the very first guy to sack Peyton Manning.
Wow.
Archie, his dad, and I were roommates.
Wow.
And Peyton was 4 years old, and I picked him, threw him on the bed, and said, "Quarterback sack. Welcome to the league, kid."
Wow.
That's funny.
That is funny. Wow. I never knew that one.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many things that people don't know, and that's why you have a successful show, is because they're interesting little tidbits, if you will.
Right, exactly. And that's why we're glad we're having you on, because that's a bunch of history that we never even knew about.
I'm gonna tell.
There you go.
Trivia night, and who's the first person to sack Peyton Manning? No one will get it, but me.
Nobody
Right.
get it. That's right. Got it. So, you know, when I was talking about return those punts, I was the fullback on the punt team. And so the punter and I were good friends. His name was Cliff Parsley. And we would go out and I'd shag his punts for him. So when Billy Whiteshoes got hurt, and it happened 3 different times, the special team coach would come over to Bum Phillips and says, "Okay, Whiteshoes is down. What do you want to do?" Simply, I never saw him drop a one, and I didn't.
Huh.
So when it came up in game time, and one of the playoffs, which, by the way, doesn't go on my bubblegum cards. Playoffs don't go on there.
Right.
So another thing you got to realize, the logistics of those bubblegum cards. You're an offensive player, defensive player. There's no format for them to put both. So it's not even on my bubblegum card. It's on Pro Football Reference, but you got to have a reason to go there. So there you go. But it's there.
Huh.
Yeah.
So when I see you played in that era of when the USFL was around, did you feel like you guys had any competition from the USFL when they lasted 6 years?
You know, so you know what I'm saying. I don't think there was really competition. It was just that they were expanding, trying to make some money, and came up with a league, and it gave playing what they're paying now, because the monopoly laws greatly restricted your ability to move, because it gave ownership. I mean, we're just owned by somebody else, and it had the amount of money. That's when they come out with that push towards splitting the profits, if you will, and they made a formula and did just that.
Nice.
The game has really grown, and that the commissioner.
So before we let you go here, since you do still follow football like we all do, we like to ask this question to everybody that we have on. Who do you want to see in the Super Bowl this year, and who do you think will win it?
Yeah, well, you're talking about a coin flip. If there's 32 teams, you're talking about a difficult question. So I'd like to say is who'd get in the fight. Understand what I'm saying? And I got to tell you something else. I'm a big fan of dynasties. I really am. I love dynasties. Some people get jealous of them. So I'm a big Patriot dynasty fan. Now they've got some change that just happened to them with no more Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a phenom as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
He did it for so long. I'm not worried about it. You do it for 5, 6, 7 years. That's nothing to me. When you do it that long and at that level, and you don't stay around at that level unless you're doing it. So Tom Brady's pretty classic and got done exactly what I thought he'd do. He's a tremendous talent.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you?
There is a formula. I'm going to give you a formula that you got to realize. And I told this to our owner down here with the Houston Texans. That is, It takes 12 people to build a dynasty. Never forget that, 12 people. 9 guys in coaching shorts. 2 guys with suits and ties, general manager, director, personnel, and the 12th guy is the quarterback. He's the most important person on the field, period. That's why they make the money they make.
I knew that.
4 corners who can cover, and I'll be in the playoffs in 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's a true formula.
See,
It's all about the coach. There is raw talent everywhere in this world. It's the director of pro personnel who has to find them, and the coaches who have to train them. Because players are just like circus animals. If you think about it, they want you to react this way when they give you this sign, and they want you to react this.
Yeah, true.
And so, if you think about it and you mold yourself in that fashion, who's done a great job of that? Well, obviously Bill Belichick and the guy who owns the New England Patriots. Done a great job with it because it's true. It is true. Every dynasty has that same formula. If you went to their win-loss and went backwards.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
And I knew the quarterback was always key, but I thank you for telling him. We had no idea about the others that reads into a dynasty. So
do you see the Patriots without a quarterback? What do you see happen? What happens to them this year then?
A good question. So here's the thing. Kraft is not stupid, and he's pretty sharp, and he has got an extended life with building a dynasty and its reputation with Tom Brady. So, they've always been searching for Tom Brady too.
Right.
So I'm sure they're going to be well prepared, and I'm sure that they will not go in a dumpster because of Tom Brady's gone. They will have somebody else, and if everybody on that team picks up just a fraction, and I'm a dynasty guy, love people that fit the same place for a long time.
I think you're right. They'll get through it. They'll get through it.
So, you look at the Urban Dictionary, and there's a definition of a baller. You know what that definition is?
Not exactly verbatim.
Do you? Well, it's a person who started with nothing and made it to the top. I like ballers. I really do. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against trust fund babies, because there's a lot of trust fund babies. But I like ballers.
Right.
Because they know how to put their butt off at getting Tennessee Titans now. But she's not a baller, is she?
Right.
Because she didn't started with a franchise. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Love Amy to death. But Davis from the Raiders, he was a baller. He started with nothing. And look where he got to. I have a lot of respect for those guys.
Definitely.
Right.
To have you on again when there's actually football being played, if you would like to.
That'd be great. Come on anytime.
Perfect.
Like I say, I'm just taking a lap around the neighborhood. And the theory for all you listeners out there is you want to keep your legs and chest and breathing apparatus in shape. You don't want to be in one of those walkers before your time. And that's what I do. Every day I get out here and I have a little app on my phone, tells me how far I've gone today. And if I haven't gone far enough, I got to get out and walk. And that's what I'm doing.
Right. Well, that will motivate me to waking up tomorrow morning and going for a run. So thank you for that.
Hey, welcome. That's fantastic. Good. Never forget. Last little thing, okay? Last little tip, because I have about 50 life skills. And I was schooling some people earlier today, and that is this. Money is not everything, but it's right up there with oxygen. Try living without it.
Huh. That's awesome, man. And
that's a good little...
I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so thanks for joining us and talking getting a little philosophical, which wasn't expecting. But I
Out there and get over that fence, and you don't keep running. You got to go back to the fence and stick your arm over and pull some people over, because if you know what's going on, and that's inflation. In other words, if these people behind us can't do it, how are you going to get your Social Security? You got to teach them how to do it. You got to teach them how to dance so they can dance when it's their turn to dance. And if they don't know how to dance, you're not going to get much Social Security, are you?
right.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Talk at you.
Yep. No problem.
No
Bye.
problem. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, what an interesting conversation.
That was
another old time player giving us philosophical. I love it. I love when we have these old time players.
I mean, we're going to be called the Big Brain Sports Show here in no time, because our brains are only getting big.
Exactly. So now, before we end the show, we got 6 minutes left here. I want to get a little insight from our UFC analyst over here. Did you watch the pay-per-view practice?
No, so it wasn't as awkward as one would think. I mean, yeah, there was no crowd, especially the two main events, when the crowds would probably be the loudest, and there's no crowd. It wasn't that awkward. I know the play-by-play guys, Joe Rogan and Cormier. The first fight, they were saying. Like,
so what's his
awkward.
name? What's his name? Isn't doing it no more. The other lead analyst or lead guy. What was his name? With Joe Rogan, he's not doing it no more. It's Cormier.
Daniel Cormier's been doing it for.
No, but you know the guy I'm thinking. I can't think of his name right now. I've watched it for years. The other guy with him. It was Joe Rogan and somebody else.
Was it another heavyweight guy?
No,
that wasn't.
No. It was the guy that was doing the play-by-play, not Joe Rogan.
So there's the other guy too, the third guy. I can't think of the guy's name right now.
There wasn't a third guy.
It's three. There's three guys.
It was only two for.
But there's the one guy.
It was only two.
There's three now.
There's three now.
Who's the other guy? But this guy isn't. He's the He's not the play-by-play guy. He's the host. What's that?
Yeah, the host, the play-by-play.
Well, he's not play-by-playing. He's the guy that reads off the ads and whatnot. Can't think of the guy's name.
Well, tell us what happened, analyst. What happened?
So the final fight
matches.
So Henry Cejudo in the bantamweight championship, he beat Dominic Cruz, and he rode away in the sunset.
I see that right now, right here. So.
Oh. Yes, he retired after the match, and this guy Cejudo's an Olympic champion back in 2008. He's like 33 years old, which is kind of up there. He's fought for 10 plus years. So.
Did you see that coming from him?
There was talks. Yeah, there was. It not completely shocked for a lot of people, but look, who knows what he does now, because the guy's still in obviously top shape. He might just take off and come back in a year and pull a Gronkowski. Who knows? Who
knows, yeah. I also see Robert Kraft is auctioning off Super Bowl ring for charity. Wow. Go figure. What did you think of that? What do you think of that move?
I don't know. I mean, it's just the first time I saw that. Yeah, I guess, is it for COVID relief or something? But yeah, I saw that pop up right before we got live. I'll have to read up on that and see what that's interesting.
So does that mean that the season's going to start earlier or something?
I don't think so.
Antivirus
They're
thing?
supposed to come up with a plan either tomorrow or Tuesday about starting, like giving hard dates to the players union, which has probably been, they probably talked about it already, but now it'll become public. So hopefully we get baseball here next month. That'd be nice.
Have you please tell me you've watched The Last Dance yet?
No, but I did.
I haven't. So.
I haven't. So I watched, or I got ESPN Plus. So ordering the fight, there was kind of like a deal to get ESPN Plus. So I got that. I actually watched the Orlando Magic.
Oh jeez.
That documentary of Penny Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal in the '90s, which was definitely what was it called? Magic Moment.
Yeah, magic moment.
That was that was good. I watched that this morning.
Oh, and might as well say we forgot to bring up the all-important day today. What is it today? Mother's Day.
Yes.
Happy Mother's Day
that's why I
to
got
all
the
the mothers out there.
Mother's Day hat on.
And that's to you too, baby, that's watching. I know you are watching, so happy
Yes.
Mother's Day.
Yes. Well, such a good boy, Byron. Good boy. Well
So-
trained. Well trained.
Well, so are you. To your mom.
Yes.
So what'd you overall think of the pay-per-view last night? What'd you
I think
of it?
I don't know the numbers if it was the highest pay-per-view, but fight, which no big names at all. Typically, I heard that that gets about $3,000 worth of bets from this one website. But that night it was at $30,000. So people were watching it. People were betting on these matches, and I'm sure it was a highly paid pay-per-view, which is awesome. It was in Jacksonville, so that was exciting too. Love Jacksonville, great city.
But before we end off the show here,
Do you want to? We didn't mention about the name change.
we won't. I will get to that. But we got to mention. Please follow us on Facebook and YouTube Live. And now the new sports name, Tampa Bay Sports Bandits. We came up with
Tampa Bay
that.
Sports Bandits.
It took us a while, but we finally figured out a name. We'll have the logo soon.
Yes,
We got big things going on here.
big,
Big things.
huge,
We're going to have
massive.
We're going to have watch parties soon.
We've got things up our sleeve.
We got things up our sleeve, so stay tuned to us. It's going for Friday's show coming up. We have so far Charles Romes and Andy Wynn.